Do este passing of 500 years excuse a colonial power from apologizing for conquering another land. México ese presidente Andrés Manuel López Obrador do esnteting sudoeste. Y absenta letter tote king of Spain and another letter tote pope so that a list of grievances is compiled and an apologies made to indigenous people for violations to atare no called human rights, as it is weaking a tweeted video, with a Mayan temple as a backdrop. In the hours after AMLO ese announcement, Mexicans and Spaniards have weighed in with a variety of reasons WHYT demis demand fully. The Spanish government answered with a resounding no link in Spanish, saying that Spain is a rival in what is present by Mexico cannot be judged by today's standards. Many Mexicans, meanwhile, are scoffing at the idea of an apology. One senator burst into laughter when asked about AMLO ese crusade. Where was the president 500 years ago? She joked. We're over that stage, and proud of it. AMLO ese request is not completely far-fetched, others say. Other governments have recently asked for forgiveness for trampling over other people, including France for torturing Algerians and Canada for forcing indigenous students to assimilate. The situation is decidedly murkier in Mexico. Things do change. Unlike Canada and France, whose offenses were inflicted while modern states, Spain at the time of the conquest was a very different entity than today, tweeted historian Alfredo Ávila. It would be like France demanding that Italy ask it for forgiveness because Julius Caesar conquered Gaul, Europe. And where would the apologizing stop? Should the descendants of the rulers of the Aztec Empire that subjugated neighboring indigenous peoples join in? And what about those peoples, who in turn joined forces with the Spaniards to defeat the Aztecs? Much of the backlash focused on AMLO ese throwback notions of Mexican identity, which glorify the country's pre-Hispanic past and glass over racial inequity by grouping all Mexicans as mestizos, or a mix between Spaniards and indigenous people. Last year, the president had an indigenous ceremony at pre-Hispanic ruins to ask Mother Earth for permission to build a train through the Yucatan Peninsula that says will bring economic opportunities to indigenous communities in the area. Never mind that some of those communities are against the project or that AMLO ese own grandfather Spanish, was the time. AMLO ese questor de indigenous peoples tied to the 500th anniversary next year of the fall of Tenochtitlan, New Mexico City, and the 200th anniversary of Mexico ese independence. Some pointed out that the recognition wouldn't be with Spain. If we're going to demand an apology for the conquest, we would have to demand it from the descendants of the conquistadors and we live in Mexico, not in Madrid, tweeted one commentator. It is urgent to build a new narrative of our history that puts us at the center as actors of the same, instead of continuing to reinforce our characterization as eternal victims, wrote another. We don't need other countries to ask for forgiveness but to reconcile among ourselves. To his credit, López Obrador said to would be apologizing for injustices committed against indigenous people after Mexico ese independence in 1821. Still, some complained that the whole affair was an opportunistic deployment of USBSTM rhetoric to distract from pressing national issues, including the rising number of homicides, the slowing economy, and pending laws Spanish, for a much-needed revamp of the education system. Ignore that your attention span is only about 500 years, but could you cut it back to a few hours? Toda education reform will be discussed, tweeted one observer. A move WBSM before. If AMLO's strategy was to divert attention, te se ven effective, tog not very original. Tes ameus vs tem tácticas ven deployedo it a fair amount of success by populists el seoere, including by Donald Trump north of the border. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro even made tes ame demand of Spain Spanish, a couple of years ago, togun like AMLO, e asked for historical compensation. In a populist jiu-jitsu move, Santiago Abascal, leader of Spanish far right-wing, anti-immigrant party Vox, quickly used AMLO as a proposal to finish on base ahead of elections next month. Aved insult to injury by using the old Spanish speaking for the country's name. López Obrador, contaminated by pro-indigenous populism, doesn't understand that in asking reparations from Spain is in reality insulting Mexico, tweeted.